Hello, lovely people, and welcome to my channel. I'm Stephanie, and this is Evolved Chit. It's my little corner of the world where I like to talk about spirituality, metaphysical stuff, universal laws, and psychology. So in this video, I'd like to talk about energy alignment and how this twin flame journey, if that's what you're on, or whatever may have activated you and brought you to this video, how we can use this knowledge now to help us in so many different ways in our lives, and not just about getting into a relationship with a person. So I'll be drawing upon, Liora's teachings, the twin flame teacher and spiritual advisor, and just other things from like mindfulness, meditation, Buddhism, and so on, to talk about how you can use these techniques to help you balance out your energy and how to maintain it. And if you are here because of a twin flames journey, then it is said in the twin flames theory that when we balance our energy, that is our vibration, that is our frequency, and that is when we magnetize back in our twin flame. So this is one of the most powerful ways in which you can validate if someone is your twin flame or if something is meant for you. So self-concept stuff. Now, when you are feeling like you are not in alignment with your desires and you're having that emotional pain that comes up. So if you are sensitive, I would bet that you feel things in your energetic centers, in your chakras. Now, those are an early warning device, and you can use that information to help you connect to an emotion that you're feeling that maybe hasn't like formulated yet, but you're just feeling lower vibe. So when I have that awareness going on with me, I literally check in with myself. Are you okay? What's going on? Like I'm talking to a friend, and well, I'm not feeling comfortable. Okay, well, why are you feeling uncomfortable? Because blah blah blah. Or so it's an opportunity for you to tap into what you're feeling and practice self-inquiry to understand what is coming up within you. And now sometimes that self-inquiry process can take a little while, but it's actually what Liora talks about in her ebook as being one of the main element in balancing your energy is practicing that self-inquiry and that self-awareness, because it's helping you manage that vibration. And in her ebook, which you can buy off of Amazon, there will be a link in the description, and she talks about, kind of sitting with that for a little while. I believe it was like 2 weeks, she said, practice that and look into that, explore it, especially if you're seeing patterns come up. And typically those patterns happen because of your core wound activation. And Liora says that too, that the if you think about the core wound, that's what connects us, our energetic body to the physical body. And it's what makes us human. And from there, that humanness is nurtured through how we're raised, how we perceive society, how society perceives us. And some of that is traumatic and some of it isn't. So, but it's all our collective experiences that are shaping, our psychology. So like the brain matter that we have and our mind and how we look at things and perceive things and size things up. Are they a threat or are they not a threat? So if you can validate that you're not being chased by a dinosaur right now, then usually it's sometimes that it's, our own emotions and our own trauma that's victimizing us. And that's not to say that other people aren't, because there's a lot of projection going on in this world. And when you're more tapped into it, like I see it, like I can see people's stuff and they don't have to say a word, I'm like, I can pick out your trauma. I know your core wound. But just seriously, like you can start to sense that, especially if you're a sensitive and an empath, you probably pick up on a lot of other people's stuff. So I know I'm one of those people. I'm incredibly sensitive, and I never realized it because I'm can be kind of a loudmouth and bossy sometimes. But I didn't realize how sensitive I am until all of this. So I would bet many people don't realize how sensitive they are. And sometimes that sensitivity, it may show up in other ways, like in some level on the autism scale or ADHD or what have you. Everyone kind of has their own makeup. And whether it is that or it is just trauma and masking, to be the person that we're supposed to show ourselves to society to be, all of this is, creating our persona. It creates our energy. It creates our vibration. It creates our frequency. And I believe in what I've read, in other spiritual books and other spiritual teachers, be they, ancient teachers or modern contemporary teachers. It all comes down to the mindfulness. And we are going to have that suffering in some way, shape, or form in our lives. It's inescapable. And but how do we, create this awareness? We better understand ourselves. We better understand how we show up in the world based on our trauma and our attachment styles and our core wounds. How are we aware of the energy that we bring into every space, and how do we take responsibility for that energy? And that's what this experience has been showing us, where we may be out of alignment. And again, that's why it's so painful for many of us, because we're literally grieving like the loss of our old selves. It's the ego death, the dark night of the soul. And you're likely experiencing that, and that's what perhaps brought you to this video and has drawn you to this kind of content, because you're having this greater sense of self-awareness. So how can you manage all of this? How can you manage challenging situations, challenging relationships? Again, it is getting clear on who you are, your self-concept. And where are you out of alignment with who it is that you truly are and want to be? Now, I know this took me a little while as I was peeling back the layers of, the masking or the Stephanie suit I had on for like a decade or more because of like a challenging marriage. And then I was in like caregiver mode for my dad and so on. So now it's like, now that all of that has kind of cleared, it's like, who am I? And those things continue to like drop away that no longer serve me. They no longer feel like they're for me. So it's allowed me to move through those things a little more fluidly, as the stuff that no longer used to work for me works for me anymore. And that can be any number of things. So we all mask and show up differently. I know I was like ready to like swing from the chandelier when like I was done with my marriage and divorce. But I had to kind of step into a caregiver role. I was had a very demanding job then too. So I was doing things that were fun, but I was still having to be an adult. So I wasn't really examining all the like the soul stuff that I've been really focused on over the last 7 years. So these are some exercises and resources that you can check out to help you tap into that a little faster and a little more efficiently. So maybe you are feeling out of alignment with your soul work, or you do work or activities that feel a little, as we like to say, soul crushing. How can you get into better alignment for what is meant for you? And that's what this experience is showing you. So practicing your self-concept, practicing self-inquiry when you're feeling those energetic centers fire up, or your clairaudience, clairvoyance, what have you, like that's like something telling you, red flag, this doesn't feel right. And then you can explore why it may not feel right by practicing self-inquiry. And if it's not feeling right, why is it not feeling right? Is it because it is truly a danger, or is it because it just doesn't feel like it's for us, or is it because you're feeling tired, or whatever reason? You explore that by practicing self-inquiry. What can you do about it? Can you do anything about it today? Can you do anything about it tomorrow? How about next week? So this is where you can connect to it. Some things it's trauma and you're just like, oh, that's my old crap. And yeah, whatever, I have to do this, but it's just my old trauma victimizing me. Maybe I'm not feeling appreciated. Well, how can I appreciate myself more? How can I be a better advocate for myself? Where am I out of alignment with my higher self? So again, practicing self-inquiry and answering those questions can be very helpful. And some people, I know myself, I went through like about 15, 20 years of my life taking care of other people. And when I was all said and done with this, I'm like, okay, who am I? I am this person at work. I'm that person in my personal life, whatever, like, who am I? So I considered that an opportunity to really connect to who I am and what brings me happiness. And I use tools like numerology and astrology to do that. And you can check them out too. Very simple resources, simple tools and free resources to help you understand things like your North Node and your South Node. So that's like your North Node is like your North Star. Your South Node is the stuff that you're coming into this lifetime with, or your skills or experiences or karma. So you can better understand these things to help you align with what you feel is meant for you. And also check out your Saturn placement too. Saturn is the stern teacher and here for what our lessons for in this lifetime. So I have articles on my blog about all these things, and the links will be in the description. And I'm going to put them in the order in which I recommend you check them out and read them. So they can be really helpful in helping you better relate to who you are, better understand who you are, and then better understand this dynamic with your twin flame too. So the article with the astrology and numerology information, I give some resources to use if you're interested and have their details to generate some reports to help you better understand that connection and what the relationship dynamic may be showing you. So check out those links in the description. And again, I recommend going in that order. So I'd like to share a couple of wins for energy alignment, just to give you some examples of how this can show up in any number of ways. And one is a relationship with one of my clients. He and his partner, they have a really adorable, sweet relationship, but it also brings out the insecurities of my client like you wouldn't believe. So we have worked a great deal over the past year in helping him navigate this relationship when he's feeling lower vibe, when it's bringing out the control issues, the anxiety, the worry about, what's been activated with his core wound. Am I enough? Is my partner doing something with someone else or this or that? So it's been very helpful to use these tools and techniques to allow him to move through those feelings a little more efficiently and fluidly, and give himself some more grace. He's seeing how his core wound stuff shows up in that relationship dynamic, and it is so interesting to see how it played out from the trauma he experienced in childhood. I even had like certain visions of what I was seeing from childhood, and he validated those were correct. And then we talked about how that same feeling is showing up because of what he can't see. Oh my gosh, it was so cool just to be able to help him put that together. So that relationship persists, and from time to time he still has his challenges and works on, how does he integrate that shadow stuff and see what it's for. And I always remind him that you are in control of this. At any time, if you feel like that this is not the relationship for you, you can choose otherwise, especially if you're not able to talk about these concerns with your partner. And that has been very helpful for him, knowing and reminding him that he has a choice, that he is the adult that he needed when he was a child, and he can choose for him what is best for him. Because so often we're still carrying those childhood wounds in all of our other relationships. In fact, every relationship, how we related at home, how we saw our parents relate to each other and then to us, and then us to our other family members or, close community, that shows up in every relating experience that we have. So he needed to relearn some relating experiences and show up and then be the parent that he needed so he could vocalize his needs and what he needed to see and what confirmation or information he needs to feel comfortable in a relationship. And that's maturity. Now, if it gets to a point where it's like overbearing, then that's insecurity. So that's what we talked about. What's that fine line of, you have a partner who's being forthcoming with you about what they're doing and who they are and how you're showing up for each other in the relationship. And if that ever changes, then you have a choice on what you want to do. So remember that. I think the fact that sometimes people don't want to be alone or afraid to be single or what have you, like it keeps people in low vibrational relationships or unhealthy relationships. And remember, if you are one of those people that you do have a choice, how do you try to strengthen that relationship, or how do you leave it with some grace? and respect for yourself and for the relationship and the other person. Because most people are showing up the best way that they can with what they know. Even when they know that, they might be projecting or doing something harmful, it's still their wiring. It's how they show up. It's really interesting. So you can use this in your relationships. And you could apply that very situation as my client with his partner. You can apply that to any relationship with friends, family, a coworker, by being clear on what your needs are and articulating them. It allows you to, speak your truth and then show up, and be the best self that you can be. How are you showing up in your relationships? How are you showing up in your professional life? How are you showing up for yourself in your other pursuits? And then also with work, you can use this. I had a client who came to me about their twin flame dynamic and really obsessed with this whole situation. And the underlying current, though, was always about she wanted her twin flame to change. And I kept seeing or hearing a pattern when she was talking about her twin flame dynamic. And I suggested to her, I said, it sounds like you want your twin flame to change when really it sounds like you want something in your life to change. What is that? And she immediately said it. And I was like, I got an idea. Why don't you, for a week, put the whole twin flame thing on hold? Turn off your YouTube notifications, just stop with all of that. And for the next week, focus on what it is that you need to do to lift up what your enterprise is, your business. Because these things that are coming at us, which I love social media. I work in tech. I work on teams that build this stuff. So I'm an early adopter and I love it. But I always want tech to be as healthy and good for us as possible. So too much of this information, it trains us, it distracts us, it's a dopamine hit. When you have your notifications on for YouTube, you'll see that you're following your favorite people. So, and some people, they post a lot, or when they're going to post their content, or when they're going to post their oracle reading, and it creates that demand, and not just for their channel, but it creates that demand of your dopamine. It's a hit. It's like a drug. So that also is taking up our time and consuming us because we just want to keep moving from dopamine hit to dopamine hit. So if you are hooked on the readings and content, I have an article on my blog about being addicted to oracle readings. So check that out. And how it talks about how you use this content and information more wisely. So I'm not saying, not use it, but how can you use it in a way that is not distracting or detracting or keeping you longing and looping? Sorry, I don't mean to rhyme, but it's just how it came out. How can you use those things to help advance you? That's why with my content, I love giving readings, and general readings are so much fun, but I don't want to keep people hooked or looped. And the general readings are the same thing all over again. So I feel like those that I have on my channel, and they apply all the time. You're constantly trying to aspire for a higher vibration. That's the trick. And you are your own best reading. You are your own best psychic. You can sense your energy. You can choose. That's what this is showing us, how we can alchemize the lower vibrational stuff. And I've talked with a lot of people who they thought that they could never live without their twin flame. So everyone's journey is going to be different. Some people don't end up with the person they believe is their twin flame. Maybe they're just friends. Some people have gotten married to their twin flame. So it's really making this less about them and more about you. And that's going to draw in that vibration is going to draw in the things that are meant for you, the people and situations that are meant for you. So the best way to determine if you're still hooked on all the twin flame stuff, if someone is a twin flame, then keep focused on you and balance out your stuff and see what comes in. So like my client, and taking that week off, it allowed her to move through a checklist of stuff that she has been trying to plow through for the last year, but has been stuck. So she was able to get the remaining things off of that list to be able to launch a digital agency, and really excited for her. So the twin flame stuff is still there, but now she's seeing this as like, wow, I really am like the creator of my reality. And when she is in that, that boss lady mode, that vision that she has in her head, that's when her twin flame comes back in. And then she admits, like, her energy encroaches, she loses herself, she wants things, like, then she realizes, now I gotta balance it out. It's okay to have those desires, those feelings, but this is that dance. And how can you still have that, like, passion for someone or something without it being a projection and or a dependency or a heaviness? And a lot of that can just be like sending good vibes, or, based on the relationship that she has with her twin flame, like, just send some good vibes and then let it go. Focus on the things that are bringing you happiness and joy. That's your vibe. That's your frequency. So I know that was something that I did early on, when I was managing that push-pull dynamic with my twin flame too. Like, if something came up, I would just be like, oh, I'm thinking about you, and then I would literally, like, say that out loud or in my head, and that was it. And I let it go. I'm thinking about you. And this way I could make it not about a projection, and I could honor that feeling. So it's an exercise I suggested that she do too when she's feeling like she's going to that place of projection. And another interesting facet for her was that when I kind of peeled back another layer, it was the validation that she was seeking. She just wanted somebody to tell her that she was, like, doing good work or doing a good job, or that she felt like she couldn't do it alone because she had been in long-term relationships before. And it was fearful for her. She felt vulnerable in, like, striking out and opening this business. So it's really powerful when you're understanding what's going on in your world and what is, like, how you're wired or what's driving you with your core wound or other thoughts or beliefs, because it's often what's keeping us in a lower vibrational state and unable to achieve the way in which we desire and know that we're capable of. So you can just see how this can work in any number of ways. And a very similar story for a client who is working on her social media influencer brand. So you can apply these principles to that as well, the way she wants to show up for her clients, for her audience, and the authenticity, the balance of sharing her story and, using that to help advance her cause, which is an incredibly worthy cause. So, how do we show up as that advocate? Where does that lie in our authenticity? How do we make sure that doesn't get lost in the message or the work that she's here to do? And that's what we focus on. So that has brought in for her more opportunities, not just in her, like, social media influencer world and things that she wants to do there, but in her career itself. It has really helped her in becoming the person that people are seeking out. Like, wow, they see her as, like, a rising star. She's a younger professional, and they see her as a rising star, and they want her to train other people, and they see all these opportunities. So it's really cool to see where she's thriving and growing in that respect. And where maybe a year or so ago when we were talking, I had our first conversation where she felt like she didn't feel like, I'm saying that she was playing small in her life. And a lot of it was around confidence and how she felt like she had to show up or play small or not, speak her piece. So we worked through all those things, and it is really allowing her opportunities for greater clarity about her career path and what she wants to do and how she wants to be an influencer in this particular industry, which is an incredibly noble cause. So I'm so excited for her because now she's aware of how that old story played out, how her trauma showed up, but what she's also realizing too is that was the gift for her to be able to see this, and watching her alchemize the lower vibrational stuff, the things that happened to her when she was a child that shaped who she is today. Now she can see that for what it is, and that it is like the logs on the fire that are driving her with her cause. And when sometimes she feels like she's second guessing herself, or she's unsure, or she's, like, making too many decisions or giving herself too many choices, I encourage her to go back, like, how is she advocating for that, her inner child? Because the wounded inner child is who she's showing up for in her cause. So it's just a reminder, like, I'm showing up for my inner child by showing up for other people. And that is a big part of her cause. So for her, it is satisfying that particular part of her mission and her journey by healing that wounded inner child and being there for other people who can't advocate for themselves. And that is really incredible. So that's what these things can show you, where you are out of alignment with your highest self, your higher self, your mission, and using tools like numerology, astrology to better connect with that. Understanding your attachment style to help you better understand how you're wired and what your inner narrative and world is like. Connecting to that core wound. What is it? How can you heal it and soothe it? You can use a lot of these tools to help you. And how do you tap into it? You use self-inquiry. So I hope this was helpful in letting you see that this journey really has its ups and downs. I will not lie to you. It is a pain in the ass at times. Like, I know there were times I'm like, what the hell? I just want to go back to being me. But I am grateful for the process. And I just want you to see that it is an awakening. It is truly an awakening. And it is a tool and an awareness that you can use to help you in all facets of your life, which in turn will help other people. So while we're here, let's conspire for our good. Let's conspire for the good of others and conspire for the good of the world. And this time, that's what we are leaving. So that is our promise to our soul, to other people as well, to other souls too. So step into your power. That's why I yell it at the end of every video. So this is just a reminder that you are loved, you are amazing, you are awesome, you are necessary, and you are really freaking needed right now. So step into your power. And until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and good vibes for your journey.